why do you sense that this coveted, prestigious orange cap is not quite awarding the highest or the best performance over a season of the IPL in today's T20 times?
Well, I think runs and volume of runs is one currency, but it's not the most important currency in this format of the game. And I think traditionally we've always looked at who's got the most wickets, who's got the most amount of runs, where in this format of the game it's becoming more and more important just those small moments in games and the impacts that certain individuals, whether it be a bowler or a batter, we're talking about batsmen now, that outweigh, enormously outweigh the contribution of someone that's got the opportunity to open the batting or bat 3 and bat 50 balls and churn out yet another 65 or 70 runs and have the best of it. And it doesn't recognise for me enough those people that come in like a Rinku Singh and do the remarkable. Where is where will he be at the end of the season if he continues his little impacts down the order? Tuatia, another one that's done it over recent years. Where do those players get recognised when it comes to the orange cap? They're not recognised at all because they're never in a position where they can get volume of runs.
100% agree with it. The game has evolved. I mean, he talks about Tuatia. David Miller last year could easily have been that person. And this is not about the MVP, because the MVP sometimes would be a person who has runs and wickets. We're specifically talking about a batting award. And I draw one example, and I don't want any particular player to catch the stray bullets that are flying here. Earlier this year, we had a guy, an opening batter, scoring 450 runs, but a guy coming in at 5 scored maybe about 80 runs less, batting at 5 with a much higher strike rate of 180. So you ask yourself, who won more matches, who had the bigger impact? But because player A had the most runs by 50, batting at the top, he got it. I don't think it fulfills the criteria or what we started out with 10 years ago. 2016,
where Kohli got over 900 runs, phenomenal season. David Warner won the championship for the Sunrisers. Tom Moody was part of that franchise. You had Warner again in 17. You had Williamson in 18, but Rishabh Pant was the top batting impact player. It happened again in 19 with Warner and Andre Russell. Phenomenal season that for Russell. KL Rahul in the UAE in 2020, where Punjab didn't make the playoffs, and Shikhar Dhawan, on the other hand, where Delhi reached the final. And the last 2 years, we've seen phenomenal years with both volume of runs and aggregate scores with Joss Butler. So that's a total of 4 out of the last 7 seasons, where had we looked at impact, we would have had a different player taking this, the highest honour, if we can call it that. And does that tell you a story in some way?
Yeah, I think it does, because I think it includes everything involved in a batting performance. And there's many different things you need to take into consideration. The time you come to the crease, what the game situation is, what the conditions are like when you might be batting second and suddenly there is heavy dew. So those runs, the value of those runs, and you might be chasing down a total that's a modest total, so you can cruise in a nice little 65 not out. As a top order player, because conditions are good, the opposition batted poorly first up, you're not chasing a significant total. All you're doing is your job. Just, I can knock that around and get a 60 or 70 not out.
Yeah. Do you sense this could also take out bad habits, if I could call it that, for some players? Let's take Indian players on the fringes of selection, who eye the IPL as a springboard for national selection, and they say, if I get a 500, 600 run season, then I'm in contention. That affects the way they play. It perhaps affects what they become as T20 players going forward. And in some ways, this could help that as well, where people don't aspire to be the highest run getter in terms of volume. Is that a valid point?
Yeah, I still think people will instinctively want to be the highest run scorer or the leading wicket taker, because that's just human nature. But I think this impact relevance that we're talking about puts more significance on what is more important for the team. And ultimately, what we're wanting is to assess as analysts and so-called experts that, who is the person today, this week, for the tournament that is having the most significant impact at that very moment.
I think your point there are two parts to that. There's the player's significance of what he wants to do, but that is separate and apart from the tournament and what the tournament is trying to highlight. The tournament, I think, in the future should be trying to highlight who's the most impactful batter. That will not stop Ian Bishop from going there and saying, I want to get back into the West Indies team. Let me score 675 runs. But that is separate. We're talking tournament perspective on grading the most important.
So shall we add a new award, or shall we change what the orange cap stands for? Why not reward both, volume of runs and come up with something more? Does that not quite feel the same?
Well, but personally, I don't think you need a new award. I think it's very simple. We're talking about the best batsman, and at the moment we're measuring that by number of runs only.
That's what needs to change.
That's what needs to change. We still need to recognise the best batsman, but we just feel that there's a better way of doing it.
Traditionally, cricket has always rewarded highest run getters. We look at World Cups and we remember Tendulkar in 03, or you remember Wasim Akram as a leading wicket taker in 99, and you remember these names because that's what we valued. Do you sense this is only something that should be introduced for T20 cricket, franchise cricket? It could stay the same for 50 overs?
Yeah, for now I'm just seeing it as T20 cricket, because T20 cricket is such a different beast now from the other two formats of the game. And things have changed. We're getting impact players. We're getting different ways of approaching T20 cricket. So I think specific to T20 cricket, this is where it should be. And I don't think there needs to be another award either. I think that's too much. That orange cap has great profile, so we could just alter it as we are altering different things in the game.
And the other thing I think that, and this is probably for another discussion, I'd be interested to get your view on this, Bish, is the purple cap. You can also make the adjustment there as well, because quite often we see bowlers accumulate wickets purely because of the phase they bowl in.
Sure.
More often than not, if you average 2 overs at the death, you're always going to be the recipient of more wickets than someone that's bowling the hard yards, whether it be in the middle of a power play, whether it be in the middle of the innings. So there's different ways we can measure that as well,
I think
to get that balance.
Your point is best illustrated with the fact that Rashid Khan, I don't think, has ever won the purple cap.
Yeah, which is phenomenal, really.
It's extraordinary, isn't it?
He has owned T20 cricket, for the past 7 or so years.
Amazing. And we have long known that wickets are valued higher and lower depending on which phase of the innings that you get them. So it's not a criticism of the 2 awards that we have, but it's just an evolution and taking it to another step as the game has evolved.
Yeah, all right, fantastic. Oh, should we see this happen? Well, we have our impact numbers and our smart stats ready. If the BCCI wants them, we'll just send them and print out to Ian Bishop. He'll forward it to them, and that's the way we can roll. Just one last point to illustrate this for this season. Let's just have a look at who our top run getters are, shall we? And if you've watched even a small percentage of the games this year, you've seen a bit of David Warner, and you'd be thinking, gee, this guy could actually end up winning the orange cap. Nothing against David Warner, who's won it in the prime of his career, but you have him striking at 115 and just, 24 runs behind Shikhar Dhawan at the moment. As far as highest batting impact goes, Josh Butler's played some sensational half-century, striking at over 200, with Raj Gaikwad too. Nicholas Puran could easily get a few more wins under his belt. Kyle Mayers has started so well for LSG. But the Warner example is just one to illustrate where this can go wrong, possibly. And if anyone sees David Warner at the top, if he continues playing this way, that would make the point, wouldn't it, Tom?
Well, this is not about David Warner. Let's make it clear. This is about the topic that we've been talking about.
Yeah, it's an example.
And, there's many different reasons why David Warner's found himself sort of, I suppose, left out on a limb because of the poor batting of his top order, and he's been put under pressure because of that. That wasn't the case in the last game, but it certainly has been the case in every other game leading up to that. But it is an example of, you could potentially have a team that hasn't won a game and that's carrying the orange cap. How does that work? It's about impact, it's about winning, it's about influencing games with bat or ball.